Miami Heat trade rumors continue to heat up as we get closer and closer to a Kevin Durant decision, as well as the NBA draft. And on today's show, we're going to look at the latest KD trade update, a DeMar DeRozan Heat trade package that makes things a little interesting, plus the idea of pivoting towards Jonathan Kuminga if you miss out on Kevin Durant. This is the Heat Report by Chat Sports. I am your host, Nic Rohloff, and we will start today's show with the Kevin Durant update because I truly believe we are inching closer to a decision from the Phoenix Suns. We know all the reports are that a trade will be finalized before the NBA draft, and the lead NBA Phoenix Suns insider, John Gambadero, said one would happen this week. I don't think it's going to happen today with the NBA draft, so it feels like it's likely going to happen over the next 72 hours, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But I have a weird personal feeling that it will come on Friday. So that's just me. I don't have any sources. That's just what I feel like might happen. But let's get into the latest on KD, because Sam Amick of The Athletic reported that I know the Rockets are a little like San Antonio, where they were pretty lukewarm. Not on Kevin as a talent or as a person or any of that, but not in love with the timeline because of his age and really not looking to give up too much of that young core to get him. And I'll say this, I've been skeptical at times. I've been also very optimistic at times of potentially trading for KD. But I think things are tilting towards Miami a little bit. I thought that as long as this dragged out, it would hurt the Heat. And I will say, if it gets to July, they stand no chance with the Minnesota Timberwolves, I think. But it feels like the Rockets aren't willing to part ways with pivotal assets. The Spurs are almost out of the race. And it's like, well, if the Rockets and Spurs are not sold on the idea of bringing them in, is it really Miami versus Minnesota? And then if KD doesn't budge on his idea of not wanting to play with the Timberwolves, is Miami really the best option here? That could be a legit scenario here that maybe Pat Riley is winning this little standoff. But before we get more into this, help us out, share the video, because everybody could use more Heat Report in their life. And with all these updates around this basketball team, people might miss what this is all about. So make sure you do share today's video. If you tag me on Twitter at Nic_Rohloff while you share it to social media, I'll give you a like and retweet. All right, this is kind of what I just mentioned here, but if the Spurs aren't involved, the Rockets are lukewarm, KD doesn't want to go to Minnesota, is Pat Riley really going to win the game of chicken here? Because that's where we've been at, right? It's is Pat Riley going to give up Khalil Ware? Well, if he doesn't, probably not going to happen. But maybe he isn't going to give up Khalil Ware, and because of the factors with San Antonio, KD not wanting to go to Minnesota, and Houston not offering really that good of a package either, well, maybe Phoenix is just okay, we'll take Jovic of first, Andrew Wiggins, and Duncan Robinson because of their cap relief, and they get the 20th pick. KD could maybe win, or KD could come to Miami and the Heat win that game of chicken. I mean, it's very, very possible. But then you also have Sam Amick saying this on his podcast. Phoenix is almost trying to nudge Durant to Minnesota and compel him to add a fourth team to his list. The interesting dynamic is, does he change his stance on Minnesota? If not, when do the Suns come off of that and look harder at Miami or maybe one of these other situations? Things are getting very, very interesting. It is no doubt that if KD told the Timberwolves, you know what, F it, I'll come to Minnesota, I'll play with Ant, I'll extend. Be done. It would. There's no question about it. If KD gave the green light to Minnesota, it was all right, I'll come play with y'all, I'll do it for 2 or 3 years. The trade would be done. It would be Dillingham, DiVincenzo, Gobert in the 17th pick. It'd be over. But if he's not giving that thumbs up, then the Timberwolves aren't going to agree to a deal, which then could force the Suns to pivot if they want to get something done before the draft and say, okay, Miami, we'll take your package. This could really be something that ultimately comes to fruition. So, today's pinned comment. Do you think KD lands in Miami? Type Y for yes or type N for no. Do you have any new confidence on this situation? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. Let's transition over to DeMar DeRozan now. Is the trade package for DeMar kind of out there? Because we talked about this on yesterday's show. If you did not watch, I advise you to go do so around the latest with DeRozan as a potential backup option to Kevin Durant if they miss out on KD. This came in from James Ham yesterday. He kind of provided a little bit of an update. I'd say at this point, everything I'm hearing behind the scenes is that they're still interested in DeMar DeRozan from the Miami Heat, especially if they miss out on Durant. If they don't end up with KD, I think the DeRozan situation will be revisited. If you didn't watch yesterday's show, I'll give you a very quick spark notes on the matter. Keep DeMar DeRozan away from my team. I do not want him. I will be very, very firm on that stance. I would actually be a little bit disappointed in Miami if they traded for DeMar DeRozan, and I would be borderline like ready to go to the Kaseya Center and grab the pitchforks and riot if they traded a first-round pick for DeMar DeRozan. This was the Bleacher Report DeRozan trade idea that landed DeMar in Miami that I did want to discuss. DeRozan is making about $24 million this season, and next year's final year of his contract is partially guaranteed, so it is a contract you could potentially get out of if you do not like how it goes this upcoming year in 2025-26. But the Kings would get Duncan Robinson, Jaime Jaquez Jr., and Pallel Larson. The trade idea that I showcased on the show yesterday was Rozier, Jaquez, and a first-round pick. Or was it Rozier and a first? I actually can't remember. No, this is the one. Hold on. So let's go through here. This is the Bleacher Report. That was the Bleacher Report trade. This was my trade idea. There was some buzz out there that there could be a first-round pick involved from Miami going to Sacramento because the Kings have told NBA agents that they are highly likely to have a pick in the early 20s of this draft. So that's what I would offer. But that Bleacher Report offer is a little bit interesting. I'm going to talk about that here more in a second. But make sure you are subscribed to the channel for the best offseason coverage. And when moves go down, we will have you covered. If KD gets traded to Miami, we're going live on the channel. If he doesn't, we'll make a video breaking down what's next for the Heat. So you make sure you're subscribed and have those notifications turned on. I'll say this when it comes to DeMar DeRozan. I do not want him on this team. But I could be talked into it to a very slight degree if it does not require any NBA draft picks. Like any. So like that Duncan, Jaquez, and Larson package. Would it hurt me to get rid of Pallel Larson? It would. It would actually pay me to get rid of him over Jaime Jaquez Jr. I'm being so dead serious when I say that. I think Larson could be a great role player in Miami, and I've cooled on Jaquez after how poorly he shot the ball this past season. But the reason why I'm not really in on DeRozan is I just don't like the fit. Like, in that hypothetical, where is he playing? Like, seriously. Are you then trading Andrew Wiggins for a point guard or something? Like, because in that hypothetical, you now have Ware, DeRozan, Bam, Wiggins. Like, who starts at the 3? Is Wiggins coming off the bench? Is DeRozan coming off the bench? Like, I think you would have to trade Andrew Wiggins at that point, which I don't think is the worst thing in the world. But, like, I just don't get why we should be happy with the DeRozan trade. I don't understand it. Like, sure, is he a solid scorer? Yeah, he gets to the mid-range area anytime he wants. He gets to the free throw line. He's one of the clutchest players in the NBA. But he operates in the same space offensively that Bam likes to, that Ware wants to be in, that Hero likes to get to. To me, the offensive fit is just so clunky. And I don't think DeRozan can defend at a good enough level to offset that offensive fit. I don't think that one bit. And I know a lot of Heat fans out there have said, well, if we make a DeRozan trade, we're actually going to do it on top of trading for KD. And we're going to have KD and DeRozan alongside Bam, Ware, and Hero. So is he coming off of the bench? He's been pretty adamant over the past couple of seasons that he has no plans to be someone coming off the bench. Would he be an awesome sixth man? No doubt about it. But he's not going to probably want to come off the bench. I think the only person he said he'd ever come off the bench for is LeBron James. I don't know if he's coming off the bench for KD, Bam, or Khalil Ware. Like, I just don't see the fit. I don't even know if you'd want to come here if we also got KD. And I don't think the fit is good at all. I know the contract is not that bad over the next couple of seasons. But to me, it's just putting a Band-Aid on a cut incision on your artery. Like, you're bleeding out regardless. So why put a Band-Aid that's not going to do anything? That's what it feels like with DeMar DeRozan. coming to the Miami Heat if you strike out on KD. All right, make sure you get your Miami Heat draft hats here. We are less than a week away from the real thing on June 25th. Grab yours today. Any style, any size. It is the absolute best to grab those draft hats. So get them, chatsports.com/Heat 2025 draft hats. Link is in the description and comments of today's video. Take advantage right now. One more time, chatsports.com/Heat 2025 draft hats. We'll move over from the veteran trade market and look at an interesting younger player here, because is there Heat interest in Warriors forward Jonathan Kuminga, the former top 10 pick in the 2021 NBA draft? Jake Fisher had the report of the Heat potentially being interested, saying maybe Miami would make a sign and trade run at Jonathan Kuminga in the event that the Heat don't win the trade race to acquire Kevin Durant. Sources say Miami has registered a level of interest in Kuminga in previous transaction cycles. To me, this makes no sense. Why? Well, I think everyone's thinking it at home. If they are interested in Kuminga, have been interested in previous transaction cycles like Jake Fisher said, why didn't you just acquire him in the Jimmy Butler trade? You traded with the Warriors. If you liked Kuminga, why didn't you get JK? And don't tell me that the Warriors were not willing to give him up. I find that hard to believe, because it doesn't sound like they're going to re-sign Kuminga. And he didn't even play down the stretch of that season and was basically logging DNPs in the playoffs until Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler got a little bit banged up in that second round series against the Minnesota Timberwolves. So you could have gotten Kuminga. So why didn't you if you have interest in him? Now, I'll say this. I actually have been someone that has held Kuminga stock in the past. You might call me crazy for that, but I just like his size. I like his athleticism. I mean, we're talking about a 6'7" guy here who is really bouncy, has a +4 wingspan at 6'11", 6'7" in height. He's a mid-range guy. He's a slasher. He doesn't space the floor that much, but I think in Miami, maybe the Heat would be able to get the best out of him, as they usually do get the best out of players. It is tough, but more thoughts coming on Kuminga here in a second. I want to get your thoughts first. Are you interested in Jonathan Kuminga in the event that the Heat miss out on Kevin Durant? Type I if you're interested. Type B if you have no interest. Do not want Kuminga. Let me know your thoughts down below. I've always been a Kuminga fan, man. I have. He's had his up and downs. I don't think he's the most IQ-driven player. I think he struggles in that department. He isn't always the most engaged defensively, but you'd have to hope that Miami and Eric Spoelstra would get the best out of him, because he does have the tools, traits, vertical, lateral movements to be an elite defender in the NBA. And his ability to pop a 15-footer and get downhill, it does have a level of interest, and it intrigues me a little bit. Now, he is a restricted free agent, so you did hear Jake Fisher mention a sign-and trade. ESPN's Bobby Marks valued Jonathan Kuminga in an article about 4 days ago at a 3-year, $81 million contract as a restricted free agent. So there could be different ways to go about this. The Heat don't really have the money to offer that contract, which is why it would have to be a sign-and trade. That is a value of $27 million per season. So if you did a sign and trade, you'd obviously have to give him that contract and then also send something to Golden State to make it work financially. And this is what I would guess I would do. Like, Rozier makes $26.6, so that comes in $400,000 less than what you're giving Jonathan Kuminga. So you're only upping that $400K. I guess you're only adding 2 more years onto a Rozier-esque contract. And you give up 2 second-round picks because you got to give up something to part ways, or to get him to leave Golden State, since they do have the right to match and you can't give him that contract outright. You can also make the argument you could just do Andrew Wiggins for Kuminga. I know it doesn't make a lot of sense, but maybe because of financial reasons at the trade deadline, there couldn't be an agreement on a trade that included Kuminga because the Warriors would have had to throw in more players. But maybe the Warriors would be interested on taking Wiggins back and having a front court of Draymond, Wiggins, and Jimmy with Curry and Podziemski in the backcourt. And they just would say, yeah, we'll take Andrew Wiggins back at $28 million. And it's just like a Wiggins for Kuminga swap. Like, Maybe. It's a little bit tough to project here, to be honest. Like, the final word is this. I just don't see why Miami would be interested in Kuminga. Yeah, he's young. Let me double check the age. He is only, I believe, 22. Yeah, he's only 22. So he is young. He could grow with like a Kalal Ware, a Jovic, Bam, Hero, as they're all 27 or below. But remember, if you made a sign and trade, it would also hard cap you at the first apron. And I don't think Miami would have any intention of going over the first apron in this hypothetical. They would probably just add Kuminga and let it ride with the young core this year and see what happens. But I just don't see why they would want to do that. I just don't. I have a hard time kind of coming to the conclusion that Miami would feel confident moving forward with Hero, Kuminga, Bam, Ware, and the other young pieces. I just don't see it. I'm sorry. All right, I'll do it for today's show. Make sure you are subscribed because we're going to continue to bring you content every day around the Miami Heat. So hit that sub button if you have not already for daily Miami Heat content. And if anything happens, we'll have you covered. So join the channel.